The giving has been so good that we have supplied over 250 families. We want to make sure that they are as equipped as possible so that they can tackle their academic year with verve and fervor and can make sure that they do as well as they can.
Today, this is a service project in the Bush Mountain community, and we are on the Atlanta Black Crackers practice field, and sometimes they played ball on this field. So they were professional ball players. Many of them went to the major leagues, okay, from right here in the Bush Mountain community. We're refurbishing the ball field here. We've had the family of 2 of the 3 Atlanta Black Crackers that I honored today here. So we had a large group of family members from Charles Ingram and from Preston Ingram. They were just great ball players. It's just so much history here in this city, not only in the district that I represent, but throughout the city of Atlanta. This is just a great opportunity for us to celebrate bygone years, but to remember those that came before us.
We are here at Greenbrier Mall for our community wellness and Empower Day. And what that means is we're giving out vaccine shots. Walgreens is here. Wellness is everything. We know that right now everyone needs to be vaccinated. The COVID vaccination is here. When we're talking about Empower, we have resources here for not just children, but for the adults. We have fresh produce because the Fulton County, partnered up with Chairman Pitts. And so the Fulton County is here with their fresh produce truck. The library is here, Fulton County Library. Those resources are here. Children are loving that I am giving out book bags. Our city solicitor donated book bags. We have another restaurant around here, Area 4. They've donated book bags, and my office has donated hundreds of book bags. And these book bags are full. We have a lot going on because District 11 is really getting ready to be empowered and well. And that's what today is about.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jennifer I. Today is Wednesday, September 15th, 2021. It is 1:30 p.m. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Finance Executive Committee. I'm the chair, and with me today are committee members Madeline Archibong, J.P. Metzikite, Matt Westmoreland, Howard Shuck, and so is Mr. Dickens with us or Councilmember Shepard? All right, if they join us, I will announce them as they come in. So we do have a quorum with this. Oh, thank you. Okay, so Shepard is here. So we have 6 members. We have a quorum. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Ms. Kempson-Wright, can you please read the remote meeting statement?
Yes, Madam Chair. This Finance Executive Committee meeting is being conducted remotely as advertised and is in accordance with the Official Code of Georgia 5014-1. The meeting will be conducted in conformance with Robert's Rules of Order and the Rules of Council as authorized by the City Code. The public may access the meeting by the following conference bridge: toll-free access 877-579-6743, conference ID 831-599-1256, which was noted on the Friday, September 10th public meeting notice. The public may also view the meeting on Channel 26, citycouncilatlanta.gov, or the Council's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter pages via at ATL Council. All presentations are available on the Atlanta City Council Finance Executive Committee presentation page. The agenda was published and made available on Friday, September 10th via atlantacity.ga.ikmt.com. Public comment was accepted between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. on yesterday, Tuesday, September 14th. All persons present on the presentation conference bridge are requested to mute your phones and speakers. Additionally, speakers must be acknowledged by the presiding officer prior to speaking. Each council member is requested to open your Outlook email and minimize the screen to view amendments, substitutes, and information documents, which were distributed earlier and may be distributed throughout the meeting. Thank you in advance for your cooperation.
Thank you, Ms. Kempson-Wright. I'm going to make a motion to adopt our agenda.
Second.
All right, let's open the vote on the adoption of the agenda.
The vote is open. Yes.
Did you all catch Shepard? Shepard was a yes, and I think Archibong is not, is away.
Okay. We'll close the vote. The vote is
All right,
closed.
Thank you. That was favorable. I think it should populate to 6, shouldn't it?
I believe we have Councilmember Archibong is away, and Mr.
I'm here, but I didn't see the opportunity to vote. I'm logged in, but yay. I'm sorry.
We'll update it right now. 6 days.
Okay. Well, okay, so we're missing Mr. Dickens.
Yes.
That's right. Okay, so 6 yeas, 0 nays. Our agenda has been adopted. I'll make a motion to approve our minutes.
Second.
Let's open the vote. Shepard, yay.
The vote is open.
Let's see. Archibong, yay, but I am logged in. Yay.
All right, our minutes have been approved. 6 yeses, 0 noes. Takes us to public comment. I believe we have one comment, so if we can go ahead and play that.
One moment.
Greetings, committee members and staff, and special greetings to you, citizens and voters who have tuned to this Finance and Executive Committee meeting. Ben Howard, Senior Advocate, Public Policy Analyst. Let's talk finance NTU online. Let's talk about the fact that the City Council finalized discussion and vote on the police training facility Tuesday, September 7th. And let's talk about why you did not allow NTUR citizens to participate in police training facility discussions at NTUR meetings. Let's talk finance NTUR 9. Let's talk about that notice McCullough Jacobs caused me put on the Nextdoor social media website, and why McCullough Jacobs and the NTUR 9 did not cause that same announcement about the T.C. Jakes Ministries proposed development at Fort McPherson to be placed on the NTUR agenda so NTUR residents and stakeholders could engage in public conversation about it. Let's also talk about why, since Fort McPherson is adjacent to NTUR, nothing was on the NTUR agenda about Tyler Perry's latest acquisition of land at Fort McPherson. Let's talk finance NTUR 9. Let's talk about how NTUR citizens can find funds to participate in their own self-governed code enforcement drive-thrus along the Campbellton Cascade corridors, so they won't have to rely upon council members to take the lead in code enforcement matters. Let's talk finance NTUR 9. Let's talk about why sidewalk improvements, and ADA-compliant traffic lights never appear on the NPUR agenda. Let's talk finance, NPUR 9. Let's talk about why you have not proposed funding for an unbiased professional to welcome newcomers into the NPUR community and to explain to them the NPUR system to those newcomers. Let's talk finance, NPUR 9. Let's inform citizens about how they can get paid as poll workers by calling the Fulton County Department of Registration and Elections at 404-730-7020. That's 404-730-7020. So, stop bashing Ben Howard, Ron Secure, and Edith Manifold and get to work on behalf of NPUR residents. Increase citizen participation at NPUR meetings. Antonina Robinson, Corliss Clare, Ricardo Jacobs, Albert White, Renetta Scott, and your NPUR 9 cohorts and supporters.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Howard. This brings us to our presentations and status reports, and we are first going to hear from the auditor on her office's quarterly update.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Amanda Noble, City Auditor, here to present our quarterly report. If you move to the next page, please. This infographic summarizes our activity for fiscal year 2022 to date, about 11 weeks into the year. We have not yet released an audit report, but have 7 audits in progress that I'll talk about on the next slide. And actually, we have 8 because we started one this week after I sent the presentation. We've been holding remote audit committee meetings since August 2020. The committee meets every other month. Their next scheduled meeting is October 7th. They will be considering at least 1 and hopefully 2 reports for release and an annual audit plan. They approved several projects for us to start at their last meeting in August. We are also currently soliciting proposals for external financial audit services to begin toward the end of this fiscal year. Proposals are due October 7th, and the audit committee will evaluate proposals to recommend an award. We are working with the Mayor's Office of Innovation and Performance to roll out our new recommendation follow-up tracking system. We have a backlog of 234 open audit recommendations made to 19 different departments and 40 reports. Our follow-up efforts were really reduced last year during the COVID-19 emergency, pending procurement and implementation of our new system. The audit committee has asked us to look at the resources we're allocating to follow up, and we're dedicating staff project hours this year to address the backlog. On continuous audit, we're working with the finance department, its consultants, human resources, and AIM to recommend how to configure the Oracle risk management solution, which continuously monitors user access for separation of duties and sensitive access, and detects policy violations and transactions. We've reviewed and made recommendations on the 45 conflicts to include in segregation of duties testing, the 14 sensitive roles to monitor, and have recommended and reviewed programming logic on 27 transaction tests. We reviewed initial output on the segregation of duties testing to recommend changes in role configurations to remove excess privileges. We're also developing tools to run additional tests for high-risk transactions that can't currently be accomplished within Oracle. And finally, we have transitioned the IPRO function to the Office of Inspector General and have started meeting quarterly with the IG and ethics offices to coordinate work. Next slide, please. These are the 7 audits in progress. We have NIST cybersecurity. AIM has decided to follow NIST, that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework, which is a compilation of voluntary standards, guidelines, and best practices to manage cybersecurity-related risks. The audit tested selected controls and activities to assess whether they were working as intended under the NIST framework. We will limit public reporting of our findings and recommendations on this one consistent with Georgia Open Records Act. Recreation fees is looking at the process for setting fees, whether fees are equitable, and controls over collections. Enforcement of building zoning code violations is assessing enforcement procedures in the Department of City Planning's office buildings compared to industry best practices. Aviation maintenance staffing is assessing staffing and workload in that division. Street lighting is assessing operational costs compared with industry best practices. Extra help will review controls around departments' use of extra help positions. The city's budget chief has expressed concern that overuse of extra help positions is pushing a projected budget deficit. Direct payments will recommend ways to strengthen controls over departments' direct disbursement requests to pay invoices that don't go through the city's procure-to-pay process. And solid waste services audit is still on pause. And finally, we've just started an audit of inventory management and fixed assets in the Department of Watershed Management. The audit committee should be finalizing our audit plan at their next meeting, so I anticipate sending it to Mayor and City Council by October 11th, and it will flesh out the work we will begin the remainder of the year. Next slide, please. This last slide shows our updated organizational chart with changes that were approved in the budget. We've created a part-time position and funded a previously unfunded vacancy. We have filled these positions and are fully staffed as of the beginning of September. And lastly, we implemented our return to office plan, which involves staff working a hybrid schedule with some telework and some in-person activities. Next slide. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Noble. Colleagues, does anybody have a question? All right. Well, we will see you next quarter, if not before then.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to move on to the quarterly update from AIM.
Good afternoon, council members. This is Jason Sankey, Chief Information Officer, and I will be presenting today's quarterly report. And joining me is Chief Technology Officer Aaron Green and Deputy CIO Aaron Ball. Next slide, please. The first 100 days as new CIO has gone by extremely fast, and I've been working closely with the AIM team to quickly establish our baseline and redefine our strategy. And one of the first actions we completed was to take a deep dive and review our fiscal year 21 performance metrics. And as a result, we introduced new metrics for fiscal year 22, with our primary focus on increasing customer satisfaction while focusing on 4 main themes. And those include IT service availability, technology-driven metrics, employee development and culture, and finally, increasing security awareness and training. Next slide, please. We also completed a SWOT analysis where we looked at our strengths, our weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we looked at this across our people, processes, and technology. And our focus is really to lean into our strengths while prioritizing the work needed to tackle these weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we do this based on the risk associated with each, as well as looking at the level of effort and the ultimate impact to the city. Next slide, please. As a result of my analysis, it's clear that we as an organization, we put out a lot of fires. So our goal is to really transition away from this firefighting mentality and become a true trusted advisor so we can optimize the city. And then the next goal, the next step on the ladder is really be that true business partner to help expand the city through the use of technology. And the way we do this is by focusing on our strategic planning efforts. We are also introducing a business relationship management model to ensure our customers have a strategic partner within AIM to align our technology roadmaps and the business needs, so we can see a complete end-to-end vision for the city. And they will also be responsible for overseeing the relationship and, again, helping us transition into that true business partner. Next slide, please. We are reintroducing our operational strategy, which is focusing on strengthening our core, increasing our alignment, innovation and acceleration, application modernization, and we added workforce planning to round out this strategy. I've taken note of the multiple starts and stops of the strategies over the course of the past decade within AIM and recognize that there's some instability within the department, and this is mainly due to the amount of turnover really with the CIO role. I believe there's been 7 CIOs in the past decade, which causes instability within a technology organization. So my approach is to tweak our strategy based on the foundation that has already been developed, thus minimizing further disruption. Next slide, please. These next 2 slides provide a status of our general fund fiscal year 22 approved budget. As you see, AIM received approximately $31 million this fiscal year, and this is a breakdown of how those funds are allocated. Next slide, please. Our spend rate as we close out the first quarter of the fiscal year aligns with our expectations. The blue bar represents the approved budget, and the gray bar represents the remaining budget for personnel, professional obligations, supplies, capital, and other charges. Next slide, please. I now want to transition and talk about several key accomplishments, focusing on cloud transformation, police transparency, and application modernization and optimization. Within cloud transformation, we successfully migrated city applications from Trinity Avenue and Marietta Street to AWS Cloud. We moved aviation backups from on-premise to a cloud backup solution in Microsoft Azure, which increased security and speed of backups. We transitioned multiple departments to a virtual call center within Amazon Connect, providing increased scalability and faster delivery. And the city has consolidated into one domain, making it easier to manage devices and increasing collaboration across departments. And then also within fiscal year 21 for police transparency, we replaced legacy equipment and upgraded the CAD system, providing additional features for dispatchers. We upgraded the fire station alerting system. And for DOC, we completed phase 1 of an upgrade which addressed video management system and replaced some non-operable cameras. And finally, for FY21 accomplishment, for application modernization and optimization, CityNet, we reintroduced the intranet for the city of Atlanta. ATL Serve, we launched phase 1, providing public-facing portal for citizens to open and track requests. And we also implemented field service management functionality. And then we are focused on, in application modernization, really sunsetting legacy systems. So the migration of legacy Oracle data, mainframe, and Siebel decommissioning are all part of the sunsetting of those legacy systems. Next slide, please. We also have several accomplishments thus far in this fiscal year, which include the implementation of the use of force dashboard, installing cameras and emergency call boxes at Westside Park, assisting APD with the academy move to Atlanta Metropolitan College. We completed organizational realignment. we introduced the operational strategy that I just spoke to, and we also made additional enhancements to the ATO citizen portal, where citizens can locate cases that have been opened on their behalf. It also has improved search capabilities and notification enhancements. Next slide, please. I now just want to highlight some FY21 accomplishments for Watershed that include the completion of phase 1 of a network refresh and also GIS enhancements. And upcoming in FY22, some highlights include the data center relocation and equipment upgrade, the expansion of the asset management system, and customer information and billing system upgrade. Next slide, please. Some accomplishments in FY21 on the aviation side include the West Deck parking system enhancements and the integration with the Georgia Peach Pass system, network infrastructure expansion, multi-factor authentication, an upgrade of the safety and operation compliance and maintenance systems. And we also migrated file share to Microsoft OneDrive. And then upcoming in fiscal year 22, we're also going to migrate file share to SharePoint. There's a network switch refresh, maintenance key management system implementation, Exchange server migration, and safety management system implementation. Next slide, please. Other projects and initiatives underway this year. We're completing our Cloud Smart initiative. We continue with the installation of cameras and emergency call boxes throughout the city. We plan to recommend and implement a camera strategy for the VIC, data center power and cooling improvements, address our workforce management needs in AIM, license and permit management system, customer relationship management and field service management, and continue our efforts to ensure the city remains secure, focusing on refreshing our security assessment and implementing recommendations for ATL Cloud. Next slide, please. We continue to support the needs of our customers as we land on the new normal, whether that's a hybrid model, full teleworking, or return to office. And to assist in this space, we are actually hiring 4 additional service desk staff. We are also enforcing a one device policy that will replace desktops as workstations. And we've created instructional videos to assist employees to remain secure and stay connected in this, whether it again be hybrid or full teleworking environment we're now in. Next slide, please. One area we will be taking a closer look at is our data governance and use of data. So this will include maximizing and streamlining our data-driven processes, establishing governance both in GIS as well as throughout the enterprise, and creating dashboards and data analytics for reporting. Next slide, please. At this time, I will open it up to any questions.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, questions, anybody?
Yes, I have one.
Go ahead.
Up under the other projects and initiatives, up under public safety and justice, I see you have here public beltline cameras and emergency call boxes. Are there emergency call boxes on the beltline, or are we talking about 2 different things? Beltline cameras and emergency call boxes. Where are we talking about the emergency call boxes?
CTO Green, are you on the line?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Councilmember Shepherd. Yes, so the call boxes that were recently installed were installed at the Atlanta West Side Park. not necessarily part of the Beltline.
They were not a part of the Beltline?
No, they were installed at the new park, the Atlanta West Side Park. There were call boxes and cameras installed as part of that project.
Okay. So is that going to be something that would be ongoing in terms of other parts of the cities, other parks or areas around the city in terms of the parks or the Beltline?
Yes, so we are partnering with the Beltline for future installations of cameras and call boxes. That is a relationship that we are building moving forward.
The only reason I'm asking is I had a sneak peek of the Southside Trail this past weekend, opening, and residents were walking the Beltline. And one of the things they asked, they saw the cameras that are being installed. But one of my residents asked specifically, will there be emergency call boxes on the Beltline? And was asking specifically if something happened to someone on the Beltline, how would we identify where that's going to be? And at that time, the Beltline said they didn't have plans for emergency call boxes. And my question is the city going to be looking at emergency call boxes, not only in parks, but along the Beltline? Is this something that's being contemplated, ongoing, or is this just the beginning of a new process?
So the installation of call boxes at the Atlanta West Side Park was our first instance in installing call boxes. But as we move forward with public installations of cameras and we find opportunities where the infrastructure will allow us to install call boxes, that is something that we are looking at as an AIM division.
Okay. Well, Madam Chair, that's maybe something that I think from a public safety initiative that we may want to go back and look at, not only emergency call boxes in parks and along the Beltline. I just think that's something as a city that we may be able to go back and look at more comprehensively and revisit where we could possibly put them and what the cost would be. But I thank you for that answer to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Shepherd. I think that's a great idea. I'd certainly like to see them in Piedmont Park and along the East Side Trail. Also, all right, we're going to move on to our COVID-19 update from August then. Do we have the finance team do the COVID-19?
Good afternoon. This is Jerry Delos. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jerry Delos, Chief Risk Officer with the City of Atlanta, and I'm going to present the August 2021 CFO report on COVID-19. Next slide, please. Slide 2 provides the reporting requirements. There are 4 resolutions that require us to report. Next slide, please. Slide 3 is a recap of all of the federal funds that have come into the City of Atlanta since COVID-19. It provides the date that the funds came in and the current amount. What is currently showing that on COVID-19, we've received approximately $634,195,898.73, and it provides the sources for that: United States Treasury, Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and Federal Aviation Administration are some of the largest sources of funding for COVID-19 response. Next slide, please. On this slide, it provides a recapture of the United States Treasury CARES Act. The original funded amount was $88.4 million. We have obligated costs of $85.1 million. We have actual costs of $81.8 million, and it's showing an available balance of $3.3. It just means that those funds have not actually been used, but they have been obligated. And you will see a list of all the programs that have been sponsored for this particular CARES program and remaining balance each one of those projects. Next slide, please. This slide shows the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. So far, separate and apart from the initial $22 million that we received for CARES, we have received $20 million for emergency rental assistance. We've obligated $15.2 million of that. We have actual costs of $8.3, and then we have an available balance of $4.8. On yesterday, the city received notice from the U.S. Treasury that we are able to apply for the remainder of the $12 million, so we should be receiving approximately another $7.5 million to make available for rental assistance, which will give us a total of about $12 million for additional funding for emergency rental assistance. Next slide, please. This shows the breakdown for the Department of Aviation for the grant that it received from Federal Aviation Administration. The funded amount was $338.5 million. Thus far, the Department of Aviation has obligated $195.6 million. They have actual costs of $195.6 million, and they have an available balance of $142.8 million at the Department of Aviation. Compared to the CRF funds, the Department of Aviation has an extended period of time, longer than December 31st of 2021, to spend their funds. Next slide, please. The next slide is ESG, Emergency Solution Grant. The amount that we received was $2.1 million. We have obligated $2.056 million. We have actual costs of $2.056 million, and we have an available balance of $106,000 for Emergency Solution Grant to respond to COVID-19. Next slide, please. This slide provides a breakdown for the Community Development Block Grant that we received to respond to COVID-19. The funded amount we received was $4.2 million. Our obligated cost at this point is $1.4 million. Our actual cost of $1.4 million, and we currently have an available balance of $2.8 for the Community Development Block Grant to respond to COVID-19. Next slide, please. This is our Hospital Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS grant to respond to COVID-19. The funded amount was $3.3 million. Thus far, we have obligated costs of $259, actual costs of $259, and we have an available balance of $3.3 million to respond to COVID-19. The next slide, please, is the Atlanta Police Department grant. It was funded for $1.38 million. Right now, the obligated cost of $20,000, actual cost of $20,000, and we have an available balance of $1.36 million to respond to COVID-19 at the Atlanta Police Department. Next slide, please. This is Resolution 3774. It requires us to provide a breakdown of nonprofit and philanthropic organization support provided by the City of Atlanta. There is no change in this slide. We originally allocated $1.5 million to Georgia's own credit union to provide funds to support the employees of City of Atlanta contractors. We funded $750 for those grants. At Best Atlanta, the Small Business Continuity Loan Fund, we funded 59 grants totaling $1.5 million from city funds. And then at Best Atlanta with United Way, we had $1 million to provide financial support for the homeless population, and they served 500 people as a result of that. Slides 12 through 16 is a reporting responsibility that we have. It provides a breakdown for all of the donations received to respond to COVID-19. As you can see, it's broken down based on FY20, FY21, and the current fiscal year that we're in now, which is FY22. Thus far, we've only received the $20,000 represents the donated space that we're using to store PPE, and then we've received the $18,000 donation from Home Depot. Okay. And next slide, please. This is a slide that provides a breakdown of all of the expenses as well as the funding for those particular expenses that have occurred during the course of our responding to COVID-19. It's a pretty full slide. I will explain to you the changes that we're in a new fiscal year. FY20, you will see the expenses for FY20. You'll see the breakdown for expenses for FY21. And the focus right now is on FY22, where we have spent approximately $4.9 million, $4.8 million for expenses. Most of that has come from ERA funding in FY2022. I would like to draw your attention to the last item dealing with hazardous pay. If you take note, hazardous pay expenses, they are right now running at $37 million approximately. This is only through June of 2021. There was one payment that was made in July that is attributable to the pay period that ended in June. That's not reflected here, but it will be reflected when we do the September report in a couple of weeks. But the breakdown right now is showing that we have approximately $15 million that we charge to CARES, and the balance of our expenses for hazardous pay right now sit at about $22.9 million. The city will be submitting a request for payment to be reimbursed for those expenses based on their guidelines. And that's where we stand with our COVID-19 expenses for August of 2021.
Thank you so much, Mr. Delicious. Anybody have questions? All right. Sounds like.
Thank you.
That is it. Thank you. Ms. Kempson, right, my agenda's telling me two different things. Do we have a fourth presentation?
Madam Chair, the fourth presentation will actually be taken with the held item that is later on.
Okay, thank you. All right, this takes us down then to communications. Our first item, item number 1, is 21C0110, a communication from Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms appointing Judge Constance Russell to serve as a member of the Civil Service Board on behalf of the City of Atlanta. This appointment is for a term of 3 years. I first do need to make a motion to amend this legislation to add the base form and resume and appointment memo. So I'm going to make that motion first.
Second.
All right, let's open the vote on the amendment.
One moment. Madam Chair, do you see the vote screen on your?
I do, and it says wait. Yeah, I do. It says waiting for Archibald and Westmoreland.
Okay, well, apologize. Thanks.
Let's see. Archibald and Westmoreland, are you with us? I'm wondering if they stepped away. All right, last call. Yep. All right. I think we must have lost Councilmember Archibald. I know she was having trouble. It shows that she's online. Why don't we just go ahead and close the vote and hope that she gets back online in a minute. Motion to amend was 5 yeses, 0 no's. And I believe that we have Judge Russell with us today. So if you are with us, if you just briefly introduce yourself. We do have your distinguished resume before us, and let us know why you would like to serve on the Civil Service Board.
All right. Good afternoon. I am Judge Constance Russell. I retired from the Fulton County Superior Court on January 1st. And when I was approached about the Civil Service Board, I said yes, because I think it's important for all of us to participate in the community in ways that we can be of service. And so that's why.
Thank you so much. We very much appreciate your willingness to serve the city of Atlanta. let's see, we have Councilmember Westmoreland with his hand up.
Just wanted to make the motion to approve.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you, Judge Russell. If there are no other questions or comments, I'll second Mr. Westmoreland and let's open the vote.
Vote is open.
Mr. Shook and Councilmember Archibald.
Yeah, I appear to be system free. I'm an I.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and close the vote. All right, 5 yeses, 0 no's. This will move on to full council on Monday, Judge Russell. You do not need to be there, and then the clerk will reach out to you and tell you the next step. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Give me 1 second. E-boardroom. It's not communicating. It's not cooperating with me either. Just a minute. Get back in. All right, that brings us, Ms. Kempson, right, while I try to get back on, can you do our ordinances for first read?
Yes. Item number 2 is 21-0736, an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee to waive the source selection and payment provisions contained in Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, including but not limited to Section 21187, to authorize the mayor or her designee to execute Amendment Number 1 for Employee Benefits Agreement FC 10389 with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield of Georgia Incorporated for group health insurance, Medicare Advantage insurance, life insurance, dental insurance, and administration of flexible spending, Kaiser Foundation Health Plan of Georgia Incorporated for group health insurance and senior Medicare Advantage insurance, United Healthcare Insurance Company for Medicare Advantage insurance and voluntary vision insurance, Aetna Life Insurance Incorporated for dental insurance, Met Life Insurance for voluntary benefits, and American Family Life Insurance Company of Columbus Incorporated for short-term disability by extending the agreement for a period not to exceed 12 months on behalf of the Department of Human Resources in an amount not to exceed $163,348,609.48 and for the purposes.
Thank you very much. So that one will run its course and come back to us. Going on to our regular agenda, our ordinances for second read. Item number 3. Let's see. It is 21-0629, an amended ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute the third amendment to Cooperative Purchase Agreement FC 10592, Citywide Office Printer MFDS Supplies and Services with Xerox Corporation on behalf of the Department of Atlanta Information Management to amend the initial term of the agreement to October 31st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021, to add services and add equipment to the statement of work and cost proposal on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management in an amount not to exceed $13,077.84, and to exercise the first renewal option on behalf of the Department of Atlanta Information Management for a term of 1 year, retroactively effective from July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022, in accordance with Section 2-1163 of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, an amount not to exceed $1,751,904.08. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers listed herein, and for other purposes. And I believe that the department has asked that this be held. Is that correct, Ms. Kempson, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. That make a motion to hold.
Second.
All right, let's open the vote.
Vote is open.
All right, this item is favorable. 6 yeses, 0 noes. Next item number 4, which is 21-0-0676, is an ordinance for Finance Executive Committee amending the fiscal year 2022 Tree Trust Fund budget and authorizing the mayor on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into special procurement agreement SPS 1210333, community-based forestry with Trees Atlanta Inc. for the planting and maintenance of trees, improvements to the urban forest, and community education in an amount not to exceed $1,743,850 in accordance with Section 2-1191.1 of the Procurement of Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta, Code of Ordinances. All kinds of work shall be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein, therein, and for other purposes. This one we need to amend to include the IPRO report that was sent to all of us via email right before the meeting started. So I'll make a motion to amend first to attach the IPRO.
Second.
All right, let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. The amendment is before you.
All right. With 6 yeses, 0 noes, I'll make a motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
It's open. Will everyone please vote?
Yeah, Mr. Shook, it got Westmoreland down as the seconder, so we're waiting on you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm off the system. I'm abstaining because I need to look into this to see how much, if any, of these funds are going to things, other than planting trees. Thank you.
Okay. I think that's your usual stance on sorts of papers. All right. That makes it 5 yeses, 0 noes, and 1 abstention. So this item is favorable as amended. The next item is item number 6, which is 21-0-0697, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone to amend Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 1, Section 2-190B, and Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 2-194 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to establish the Mayor's Office of Violence Reduction, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to create the appropriate department organizations and to anticipate and appropriate the necessary funding in connection with the creation of the Mayor's Office of Violence Reduction, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer and the Commissioner of the Department of Human Resources to transfer any positions currently assigned to any office or department operating under the executive branch to the Mayor's Office of Violence Reduction, as shall be necessary to facilitate the immediate commencement of the operation of the Mayor's Office of Violence Reduction and for other purposes. And before we discuss this, I believe Councilmember Bond had requested to be added as a sponsor, so I will make that amendment on his behalf.
Second.
I'll make that motion. All right, let's open the vote on the amendment.
Councilmember, we actually don't need to amend this one. It's item number 60701. I apologize that Councilmember Bond wants to be added to.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that, everybody. So I will not make that amendment. So let me see if I can get back to my screen of just seeing the paper now. All right. Matt's okay. I don't know if you want to speak to the paper if you have a question, but I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Is the administration going to speak to this paper?
I don't know. I'm happy to recognize somebody from the administration. If there's somebody to tell us about this, and then I'd also had wanted to ask Councilmember Shepherd if this is something she would like to go to Public Safety Committee for discussion there. I just don't know much about this paper.
Yeah, if there is somebody from the administration, I think it would be great if they would speak to it. I'd like to say some words after they speak to it.
Okay. Let me see. We might have Mr. Keene on the phone. If Mr. Keene is there, you're welcome to hop in and tell us about this paper.
Madam Chair, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chair, and members of the committee for the opportunity to speak to this legislation. As mentioned, this legislation amends the Code of Ordinance to establish the Mayor's Office of Violence Reduction within the executive offices. The purpose for creating this office is there's several different purposes. One is the creation of this office was recommended by the Anti-Violence Advisory Council, which was established by the mayor to assess our existing anti-violence efforts in Atlanta and to recommend any additional initiatives that we needed to undertake to address violence. That council was made up of a diverse set of stakeholders, including members from the community, members from business, as well as two members from the city council, Councilmember Mazakite and Councilmember Bone. We greatly appreciate the engagement and the recommendations that came from that council, and we have shared that report with the council members attached to this legislation. It is an appendix to this legislation. One of the recommendations from that report was the creation of this office, and the purpose for that creation was ultimately to allow for more effective focus and coordination of initiatives to address violent crime. That includes enforcement and non-enforcement related initiatives, and ensuring that there was distinct oversight and funding for those initiatives and to coordinate those initiatives. This recommendation from the council was based upon a review of best practices as well as discussion had with experts that have supported implementation of these types of offices as well as these types of initiatives in other cities. The structure for the office includes a director as well as two additional staff members is what we have currently proposed. The staff will be funded from existing resources within the executive office budget, so no additional funding is requested from what was already authorized. This office will also have purview over the expansion of the violence prevention programs, which, as you might remember, was funded, $5 million was funded through the American Rescue Plan. This office will have direct oversight of that program as well as coordinate funding from other initiatives that were recommended from the Anti-Violence Advisory Council, both enforcement and non-enforcement related initiatives. It will also seek to get grant support from grant sources such as the federal government. Some of the initial priorities for the office include launching that expansion of the violence prevention program, the finalization of a strategic framework for violence reduction, which ultimately there was a framework and foundation that was recommended by the Advisory Council, and then coordination of financial resources in city departments and partners and community-based organizations to execute against that strategic framework, including, as mentioned, applying for and receiving grant funds. The last thing I wanted to mention is that we have had some significant support, technical assistance support, as we've begun this process. We have benefited from a Offices of Violence Prevention and Reduction network, which has supported us in helping to determine and understand what best practices are for the structure, for the focus areas, and for establishing and launching the programmatic elements of these offices. We are also part of a White House-led initiative related to community violence interventions, and they're also providing support and guidance related to establishing the office, as well as launching and expanding the violence prevention programs. So we've greatly appreciated their support, and we greatly appreciated the engagement and service and recommendations from the Anti-Violence Advisory Council, which ultimately led to us putting this forward. Thank you, Chair.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. King. Yes, Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes, I think it would be wise for this to go before the Public Safety Committee. They presented to us before, but this is legislation, and I think it's important that the legislation be viewed by public safety. So I most definitely recommend that it goes back to the public safety for discussion for my colleagues on that committee to look over it. And I also like to add my name, like to make a recommendation to the amendment to add my name to this legislation. I think it's very important. I have been, not only we talk about the training academy, but this is a prime example of how when people say we need to do something else, this is an example of something else that we should do. We have violence across our city on an everyday basis. And a lot of it, even in our public safety meetings, that the police department would tell you sometimes it's one-on-one crimes. It's people actually who know each other who are doing things. This particular entity would do something that talk about cure violence. And so we would actually hire folks to go out into the community to talk about violence in the community. We have a model of that already in NTUV with the Annie Casey Foundation. They actually, Chris 180 has started up a cure violence entity, and they have an office in Lakewood Heights for this that actually interacts with residents and folks who are actually having issues of violence. And we're actually trying to do something to change the perspective in terms of violence in our communities. I absolutely support this. And I would, number one, like to add my name in terms of the amendment, and then actually recommend that it goes to the Public Safety Committee. Yes.
Okay, you want to make an amendment, a motion to amend first to add your name.
Right.
Let me just see if anybody else had general comment. Mr. Masco, did you still have your hand up, or was that from earlier?
Yes, I do. I'd like to make some comments, if that would be okay.
Sure.
Thank you. I did have the privilege of serving on the Anti-Violence Committee along with Councilmember Boone and many other members of the community, as COO Keene laid out, and it was a great experience. It was a great committee, and there was a lot of really good work that came out of that group. And there were a number of recommendations to address violence. And I we all know the situation that we're in right now with the spike in violence in our city. And I don't know that there's anything else more important than keeping our city and our citizens and our visitors safe, and really dedicating resources to do many things. I think approving the Public Safety Training Center was a key piece of that, and I believe this is a key piece of addressing violence. Some of the things that Councilmember Shepherd said, I won't repeat, but again, there are lots of things that we need to do to tackle violence in lots of different ways. I believe this is a key piece of legislation. I'd also like my name added to this. So thank you very much.
Okay, so we had a motion by Shepherd. Councilmember Shepherd, is it all right with you to include Mr. Maxkite's name on your amendment?
Absolutely. And anybody else?
Okay. Anybody else want to be added as we make this amendment? All right, Mr. Maxkite. Oh, Overstreet. Okay, let's do so that Shepherd, Maxkite. We will add Overstreet. Councilmember Archibong, I see your hand up.
Okay, so you see the speaker button. Yeah, please add my name. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Maxkite, I'm going to count you as the second on the motion to amend. So let's
Thank you.
vote. Let's open the vote on the motion to amend.
The vote is open.
Let's see, Mr. Shook.
Aye.
All right. So that is 6 yeses, 0 noes on the amendment, and then I believe Councilmember Shepherd had a motion to refer to the Public Safety Committee.
I'll second that.
And
okay.
All right.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So, Mr. King, I'm curious as to how violence is going to be reduced by non-response, your words, so I'm going to let you expand on that.
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Shook. So I think you're referring to what I call non-enforcement related initiatives, which include these community-based violence interruption or violence prevention programs. And I mean, these programs have proven, both in terms of the pilot we have in Atlanta in MPUV, which has proven that it's reduced violence in that community, as well as in studies that have been done nationally around these particular programs, as well as there have been some analysis and studies, academic studies around how these types of offices, which ultimately coordinate with APD on enforcement-related actions, as well as either provide direct oversight to or coordinate with other initiatives and programs that are non-enforcement related, which, like I said, include these community-based violence prevention programs, as well as other investments that would complement those community-based violence interruption programs in those communities, like investments in infrastructure or investments in other complementary services. And so the studies that have been done, the academic studies that have been done, have shown to help reduce violence in those communities. And there's, various amounts, but overall, based on what we were presented during the advisory council discussions by some of the experts, the meta-analysis showed that there was 10% reductions in violent crime annually with properly implemented, coordinated violence interruption programs citywide. And then within each community, they've done individual studies, including, like I said, what we've done in MPUB.
Well, give me an example.
Example of?
Yeah.
I can jump in, Mr. King, if you all want me to.
Well, I'd actually like to hear from the administration. Look, I'm going to support sending this, Joyce, to your committee. I just want to know what. I'd like him to answer my question, such as what? So it's reduced violence in NPUB. That's fantastic. Tell me more.
Is your question to learn more about the violence prevention program that's implemented in MPUV? Or are you looking for an example of something else?
I'm asking you to explain why violence prevention programs of the type you're espousing, which I don't know enough about, have reduced crime or violent behavior in MPUV. That's all.
Okay, absolutely. And Councilmember Shepard, certainly feel free to add to. But the violence prevention programs that are implemented at the community level, ultimately, they bring together partners that are credible community-level individuals that either before violence happens or once violence happens, they're able to step in and prevent additional retaliatory violence.
Well,
and that oftentimes...
Let me stop you right there. Like, give me an example of a typical scenario.
Okay. So somebody in a community commits a violent act. Oftentimes that results in additional retaliatory violence. So you hurt my family member, so I'm going to go and hurt your family member. And when you have credible messengers, as they're often called, or community members who understand the tools and techniques to step in and intervene, they can prevent that person from retaliating. And that's really one of the key goals of all of these programs, is to help communities, one, reduce retaliatory violence, and two, ideally, through other investments that complement this, whether it's mental health services or whether it's investment in infrastructure, to prevent violence from occurring to begin with. But the retaliatory violence piece is a key aspect of these programs.
All right, look, I'm just trying to learn more. My respect for Mr. Matskite and Ms. Shepard is beyond limit. So we're going to continue this discussion. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Councilmember Shepard. Yes, I do want to speak to elaborate on just a little bit more. So when I look at this, when we talk about crime in our communities across the city every day, when you look at in terms of the specifics of it, a lot of it is related to folks who are struggling or who have come in terms of the culture that has happened to them in their lives, that violence is just a part of who they are. It has become a part of the culture, and a lot of that we can say is from years and years of oppression or whatever the reason is. But as a result of that, we have specifically, I don't know, on my side of the community, a huge amount of folks who really are how they deal with issues of depression. Some people don't have money to go to counselors and do things. And this is something that's ongoing in families, and even in terms of how socially and how mentally, in terms of how folks deal with things, is they hurt each other. At the police meeting yesterday, again, one of the things we see continuously in terms of our police reports is that a lot of the shootings and killings that are going on, in particular in some areas of our communities, are actually people who actually know each other and are hurting each other and killing each other. Sometimes it's family members. Sometimes it's gang-related. But you're even finding gangs in terms of that, is that a lot of folks are in gangs because they're not loved at their homes or things are going on. So there's a whole psychological and mental component of in terms of looking at what is happening for violence in our community. And I would say to you all that we cannot continue to say that the way we deal with violence is lock people up. We lock people up who absolutely are killing people and have to be locked up. Is there ways that we can actually change the psychology of why people, and that's why it's called cure violence, is begin to go into communities in terms of people and hire folks to go in and begin to have conversations with folks in the community and talk about violence and find out where are these families, where are these scenarios, what's going on with all of these families or situations, and see if we can have someone to intervene as a part of this. I would say the violence, not only in Atlanta, but across the country, this is a phenomenon that's going on across the country. And at some point, we've got to change this. We have to change what's happening in our communities. So one thing is absolutely we need our police officers, because when shootings and things happen, the first thing that people do, even in terms of the people who are violent, they're calling the police. But at the end of the day, that is not the answer to the question. We've got to go in more and do things to actually cure violence and begin to understand the dynamics of violence and why people are doing that, and to begin to engage with people in our communities to figure out how we can resolve these issues. And sometimes that does not happen with families one-on-one. So this funding and this money and these associations that are dumping up are great. They're happening in Chicago, New York, all over the country in terms of how we can come up with a different approach to deal with violence in our community. So I think it's a two-pronged approach, how we look at it from one way to the other, but we have to deal with it. And so I've seen examples of that in NPUV in our neighborhoods. And right now, the one was this NPUV Sun Trust building was donated to this entity with Annie Casey and Chris 180. They donated actually old bank building that's actually in the heart of the commercial area of the Lakewood Heights community. And that is actually where they have a base that you can go in and talk about some of the programs they're doing and things that they're doing in that community for NPUV, which is 5 neighborhoods and also including Lakewood Heights. So that's just an example of what our hope is a beginning of us looking at a different alternative to just locking people up, trying to reach out to folks, hold their hand, understand the psychology behind this, and begin to figure out how we can turn this around. That's all I have to say. I'm not talking a lot. Thank you.
All right. I think we had a motion by Shepherd and a second by Westmoreland. I think that's what it was. To send this to public safety. So let's open the vote.
Sure, guy.
One moment. The vote is open.
All right, this item is favorable, 6 yeses, 0 noes. It will be referred to Public Safety Legal Administration. This takes us to item number 6, which is 21-0-0701, an ordinance by Councilmember Carla Smith, Andre L. Boone, Matt Westmoreland to amend Chapter 114, Personnel, Article 4, Civil Service, Division 1, generally Section 114-89 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to require that all elected officials, part-time, full-time, and contract employees of the City of Atlanta shall be required to undergo LGBTQ cultural humility training on an annual basis, to require that the Department of Human Resources shall be responsible for maintaining and implementing the required annual LGBTQ cultural humility training, and for other purposes. And I believe that this was the one that Mr. Bond wanted his name added to. So I will first make that amendment to add Councilmember Bond as a sponsor.
Second.
All right, let's vote on the amendment.
The vote is open.
All right, 6 yeses, 0 noes. That motion was favorable. Mr. Westmoreland or Ms. Councilmember Smith, if you're on the line, you want to tell us about this paper?
This is Councilmember Carla Smith. This paper it requires annual training by all employees, full-time, part-time. We even put in here elected officials, so all of us and the mayor has to do it, and anyone that contracts with the City of Atlanta has to do this annual training. It's pretty simple. It's structurally and legally just like the active shooter training that we're all doing right now that Ms. Overstreet sponsored. And we also do the ethics training. So it's a pretty bland but important paper.
All right. Mr. Metzicate, I see your hand up.
Yes, I just had a question about the training. Is it online training, or how is it delivered?
Well, now, since we're all remote, I don't think we meant to take the active shooter training remotely, but I'm sure this will be set up in the beginning to be remote because we're not going back. and for a while, and then maybe we can get to a point where we can do both. But our Human Resources Department will set it up soon if it passes.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Did you all make a motion to add Mr. Bond, and can you add my name also?
Yes, I think that we already voted on that, but we'll do a second amendment. And was that a motion from Shepard and a second from, was that Masticate? Westmoreland? Okay. Let's vote on adding Councilmember Shepard's name.
Shook eye.
One moment for the vote. The vote is open.
All right. That amendment was favorable as well. 6 yeses, 0 noes.
Westmoreland, make a motion to approve as amended.
All right. Second Shook. Let's open the vote.
Vote is open.
All right. This item is favorable as amended. 6 yeses and 0 noes. Next item is item number 7. All right. It is 21-0702, an ordinance by Councilmembers Carlos Smith and Andrea Boone to amend Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 1, Section 2-190B, and Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 2-196 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to establish the Mayor's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to create the appropriate department organizations and to anticipate and appropriate the necessary funding in connection with the creation of the Mayor's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer and the Commissioner of the Department of Human Resources to transfer any positions currently assigned to any office or department operating under the executive branch to the Mayor's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, as shall be necessary to facilitate the immediate commencement of the operation of the Mayor's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and for other purposes. And I think we had a briefing memo, and I believe, does anybody from the administration want to speak to this paper?
Or actually, I'm here, Carla Smith.
Okay.
Okay. What is the City of Atlanta's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, you ask? Well, the Office of Equity, Diversity, I kept calling it diversion. We worked on the pad. And inclusion gives a clear scope to the issues and populations at the forefront of equity, diversity, and inclusion. This office will work together with city departments and external partners to develop social justice policies and programs that confront equity, diversity, and inclusion issues, particularly around the areas of economic and workforce mobility, housing affordability, health, LGBTQ affairs, transportation, education, and youth engagement, immigrant affairs, climate change, and sustainability, and criminal justice reform. This office is made up of the following 6 divisions. Number 1, LGBTQ affairs, youth engagement. Y'all, we need this for the water boys. Health, which we're in a pandemic right now. Immigrant affairs, sustainability, so my food forest will be under this. Strategic partnerships. Now, you ask, what are the budget implications? This legislation does not add head count or create a burden of extra expenses. They're collapsing the activities, all of these activities, into one office, so it'll actually work more efficiently. Over the last 3 years, the General Fund has allocated $1.2 million And on average, $7 million in grant funds have been allocated to activities that they're proposing to add under one umbrella. We do not anticipate any general fund dollars increasing. They anticipate that general fund dollars will actually be reduced as a result of centralizing key administrative activities such as communications, finance, performance measure, and data management versus separating the divisions, all using these similar resources, which is not as cost efficient. In addition to operational efficiencies, program efficiencies will also be gained. For example, the Welcoming Atlanta team is serving 1,400 residents per week. They have been able to partner with the other office divisions, such as sustainability, health, and strategic partnerships, by offering food, vaccine, and rental assistance during one programmatic event. So, why now? And this is my last little part that I'm going to say, and then I'm going to ask if y'all will please pass this. But when we transitioned to the recorded public comments, and since last summer, we've listened to the outcry of residents concerning the inequities in social justice. Codifying this one Office of Equity, Diversion, and Inclusion is an opportunity for us as leaders to say that we heard you and we are acting. Do you have any questions?
No, thank you, Councilmember Smith. I will say I'm going to make a motion to hold this. I have gotten in the last 48 hours a flurry of outreach from outside groups that work with the city in many of these areas of whether it's sustainability or immigration or LGBTQ that just want a chance to engage on this. This caught them off guard, this reorganization, and they want to understand better how the work that they've been doing with the city will continue, why this is a better way to structure it. And, people didn't feel like they were, given a chance to, engage and be heard on this by the time, several of these groups, people found out the chance for public comment today had passed. So I am going to make a motion to hold to allow for some further engagement.
I'll second that. What's wrong?
If there is no other questions or comments, open the vote. The vote is open.
Shook eye.
All right, this will stay held in committee. 6 yeses, 0 noes. Takes us to our next item, which is item number 8, and 21-0703, an ordinance by Council Members Carla Smith, Andrea L. Boone, and Matt Westmoreland to amend Chapter 2, Article 4, Section 2-185 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to provide for the security and other services and facilities to be provided to the mayor-elect during the mayoral transition. These security services to be provided to the outgoing mayor in the ceremony of the inauguration of newly elected city officials, to authorize the chief financial officer to create appropriate fund, account, and center numbers necessary to implement the provisions of this ordinance, and to amend the fiscal year 2022 budget, allocate appropriate funding for the mayoral transition and inauguration to occur in fiscal year 2022 and for other purposes.
I'm here again.
And there, okay.
Carla,
I think it's pretty straightforward, but yes, go ahead.
Okay. Well, do y'all want to just go not hear about it? I did write, and I wrote this one myself, so I wrote up my little notes here. If y'all want to hear it, or if you just want to make a motion and move on, I'm great.
I'll save you the trouble, Councilmember Smith. I'll make a motion to approve.
1 second. This is CFO Bala. I would just ask that where it says the chief financial officer to create the appropriate fund, we don't need to create a fund for the service. It would just be the appropriate department org. We establish funds for continuous year type functions. So we just want to strike that language where it says fund and insert department org.
Motion to strike that language and add what the CFO said.
Okay, I'll second that amendment. Let's vote on the amendment. And Ms. Kempson, right, did you catch what the change in language needs to be? And I suppose if that is repeated within the body, we'll make those changes in the body as well.
Yes, I have. Vote is open to amend.
Mr. Shook?
Aye.
All right, that is 6 yeses, 0 no's on the motion to amend. Mr. Westmoreland, you want to make your motion again?
Sure. Move to approve as amended.
Second.
All right, let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
All right, this item is favorable as amended. 6 yeses, 0 no's.
Thank you all today. Bye.
Thank you. Item number 9 is 21-0704, an ordinance by council members Andre Dickens, making them one person, and Andrea L. Boone to amend the charter of the city of Atlanta, Georgia, adopted under and by virtue of the authority of the Municipal Home Rule Act of 1965, OCGA, Section 36-35-1, etc., as amended by amending Subpart A, Article 3, Executive Chapter 5, Civil Service Systems, Section 3-505 to permit the hiring of civilian personnel who shall be entitled to receive their regular pension payments, but shall acquire no further pension or civil service rights by virtue of such employment for terms in excess of 520 days and for other purposes. And let me just make sure there's not... we need to hold this today because of some requirements having to do with it being a charter amendment. So I'll make a motion to hold. All right, second by Schiff. Let's open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open.
All right, I think, I don't know if my screen is freezing or not. All right, 6 yeses, 0 no's. This item will be held in committee. Item number 10, 21-0709, an ordinance by Councilors Marcy Collier Overstreet, Andre L. Boone, Cleta Winslow, Joyce Shepard, Michael Julian Bond to reinstitute the hazard pay policy applicable to frontline City of Atlanta employees working in areas necessary for the elimination or reduction of immediate threats to life, public health, or safety, and implemented pursuant to Ordinance 20-0-1781, shall be extended to July 1, 2022 at 12 o'clock a.m. and for other purposes. And I do believe we have Councilmember Overstreet on the line to speak to this.
Yes, I am here. I would like for us to support our frontline workers and extend this hazard pay. We know that the hazard is not over. That's why we still aren't in City Council. So I would ask for your support in extending their hazard pay. I have heard from the union, and they would like to speak on the importance of being in a posture of retention and supporting those that are doing jobs that many do not want to do, and they are in hazardous conditions and
we need to continue to support them so that the city can do its job properly. We need everyone to come to work. We need everyone to stay at work. And this is just one more tool that we can use to show that we are prioritizing them as our frontline workers of the city of Atlanta. So I do believe that someone else should be on to speak also. Are you aware of that, Chair Ide? Is she here?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I don't get awry of any of our public comment rules. So, Law Department, is it fine if we have union representation speak to this paper?
Robinson, can you all?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Good afternoon. This is Amber Robinson, City of Atlanta Department of Law. No, Chair, that's no problem. At the chair's discretion, the chair may invite persons to speak to a paper.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just a little wary about these things given the litigiousness of some of our watchers on Channel 26. Yes, I am happy to hear from our union representation.
Good afternoon. I am Hamita Embry, the Executive Director for AFSCME Georgia, Local 1644. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Chair Ide. Can you all hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Okay, great. And thank you again for your continued support, Councilwoman Overstreet. And so, as you all know, as Overstreet just mentioned, we are still in the face of a horrible, horrible pandemic. One of the overall goals stated in the mayor's ARP allocation was to continue core city services. Those city services include the Department of Public Works, Watershed, Parks and Recreation, Traffic, Engineering, Aviation, Streets and Highways, and I hope I did not leave anyone out. The City of Atlanta was allocated $171 million through the ARP, the American Rescue Plan. The city can use the ARP funds to provide premium pay for essential workers, and that's exactly what we're asking you all. We're asking for you all to reinstate the hazardous pay for your essential employees. We were taken back that the current administration put a cease to the hazardous pay because, like we all know, we are in the face of a horrible pandemic, and we do want the city to operate effectively and efficiently, and hazardous pay would also help retain the current staff that we have. You all, I'm sure, know that we have some staffing issues at the moment, especially within Department of Public Works. Like Councilwoman Overstreet stated, these individuals are faced with jobs that many of us do not want to do. And so to retain these employees, our essential employees, we need to reinstate the hazardous pay. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard. And I also believe my president of AFSCME 1644, Tracy Thornhill, is on the line as well.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Thornhill, if you are on, you are welcome to go next. All right, maybe we don't have Mr. Thornhill on the right line. Okay. Colleagues, do people have questions?
Sure.
Yep, Mr. Shook.
Yeah, so we need to keep frontline people working. I just want to know what the price tag is and how it's going to be funded.
If I may, permission to speak, Councilwoman. Aye.
Yeah, who is this?
Hamita Embry again.
Well,
you may, but I think the question is for our CFO.
Correct.
It's a financial question.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Got it. It was.
Council membership and council members. So we ask that this legislation be held while we take a deeper dive into overall implications to the city. As you recall from the update given earlier today, the annual run rate for hazard pay is roughly around $30 million a year. Of that money, we did allocate some CARES funding, and the remaining amount will be submitted to FEMA for reimbursement. And they'll make an assessment and let us know how much of that remaining amount the city will receive. At this moment in time, FEMA extended the hazard pay timeline from the end of September to the end of December. So they're not covering anything past December, and there isn't necessarily an indication that they would cover this additional request from the city. So essentially, from the city's perspective, it talked about American Rescue Plan dollars, but as you remember from our budget discussions, that money has been allocated and has been allocated to fill budget shortfalls for FY21 and FY22. So, it was mentioned that we're still in the pandemic. But one thing to note is that the pandemic has also severely impacted the city's revenue numbers. So while we fully support that the city take necessary precautions to address employee retention, morale, and assess employee pay appropriately, the hazard pay as a tool for to achieve that, I don't think we just need a little bit more time to understand where we stand with FEMA, where we stand with the reimbursements, and where we stand with the stopping hazard pay and starting hazard pay again. We're asking that this paper be held for one cycle while we take a deeper dive into the overall risk that we're putting the city in by approving this legislation. Again, hazard pay is roughly $30 million a year from for the city, which would be significant if half of that is unfunded. If we take this all the way to July 1, 2022.
So you're saying that the 30 is not available in the American Rescue Plan?
No. So we from CARES funding, we allocated $15 million for hazard pay so far. The remaining hazard pay will be submitted for reimbursement to FEMA. FEMA will make a determination and let us know that all those fundings will be reimbursed to the city.
All right. Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. I'm willing to do anything I can to make sure our front-page workers are paid to the extent that they still show up and do their jobs.
Yes.
But we got to figure out how to pay for it, or it's illusory. So I will make a motion to hold.
Mr. Shook, thank you for that. Let me just, I want to call on John Keene also wanted to he had put his hand up to me to speak to the sort of operational side of this.
Councilmember, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Real quick, I just wanted to build upon what CFO Bala mentioned and just add, I mean, Councilmember Overstreet is absolutely right. Councilmember Boone is absolutely right. We have to find ways to do more to address the challenges that we're facing related to staffing shortages and as it relates to ensuring that we have the right incentives and pay in place for some of these key areas. The pandemic has certainly exacerbated that. I can tell you that I spend a lot of time with Commissioner Norman and Deputy COO Ingram talking about the key departments where we're seeing these challenges. We've been doing that for many months. We have been working with law. We have been working with our HR staff, and we have been analyzing best practices in order to put together recommendations. Some of those we have implemented. Some of those we've got additional work to do before we implement it. So we're in full agreement with our union representatives, our council members, and our workers that we need to address these challenges. The main point that I think CFO Bala was making, and I'll just reinforce, is that we're asking for some time to be able to do some additional analysis on what is the targeted approach to doing that, as opposed to a blanket approach related to hazard pay, which we don't think is appropriate given where we're at, or given the way that the hazard pay policy was previously put in place, as well as the financial implications, which are significant. And Councilmember Shook, to your point, there are provisions in the American Rescue Plan funds and the regulations that allow for premium pay. But what we have to understand is whether or not those premium pay provisions align with what our hazard pay policy says. And so there's some work to be done there, as well as for us to bring back recommendations to this committee, to council members, on what are the implications of shifting $30 million in American Rescue Plan funds that have already been 100% allocated and approved by the council to other places, and the implications of that either on the fund balance or the implications of that on other funded programs. So these things are feasible, they are possible. We believe that we have to continue to find ways to make these investments, but we're asking for the time to be able to do that analysis, put forward those recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. King. Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes, I signed on to this text because I absolutely support the good faith in terms of us realizing that our city employees absolutely need money in terms of hazard pay. My question as we go down this road as I'm listening is a couple of things. When we talk about the $30 million, when we talk about, for me, one thing was hazard pay, in particular for the public work workers. But I also want to ask, who else is up under that umbrella other than Public Works? Is it Watershed? I want to know, in terms of that umbrella, who all is up under that umbrella in terms of that? That's question number one. Number two, I hear what Commissioner King is saying in terms of, looking at it from just a temporary fix until next year, and if we have the funding to do it. I don't know if you all, I was at a city utilities meeting, or maybe this meeting, but we talked about a month ago, all the issues around public works. And I would tell you one of the things in particular I know about public works, because I'm out there on the front line with them, and we all, council members, get called all the time about what's happening in terms of our trash pickup. But I would tell you, public work workers are not paid enough. $15 an hour is not enough. And I asked this question several months ago in reference to either having a standard hazard pay that some cities do, that it's not just for this particular situation, but a standard hazard pay, and looking at that, or just increasing some of these folks in terms of the particular employees in terms of that. So, Mr. King, as you come back, for me, one of the other things I talked about was I believe public work workers should be making $20 an hour in terms of what they do and what they go through. We just saw Amazon just increase their pay to $18 an hour for workers. So when we're competing now, we can't keep public work workers. We all know factually that we don't have enough workers. Some of them are sick with COVID-19. some of the ones that we're hiring, I think another issue has come up that I've heard about is that some of the workers who actually get hired are a little frustrated in terms of how they're actually getting paid. Some of these people that we're hiring, they don't have a bank account, so they have to actually go out and if they don't have a bank account for the direct deposit, we give them some type of card called a P card or something, some kind of card. I don't know what it is. And they didn't tell the employees that. So a lot of folks are saying, are you kidding me? I done worked for 2 or 3 weeks. Now I got a card that the city put in the mail. And so they don't even know what the card is. That's what I've been told. I may be wrong about that, but again, how are we handling this internally as the HR department? And also, we need to be looking at our workers who are actually on the street, who we need to be taking better care of. And I propose not just a temporary thing, that we need to be looking at a raise for, in particular, public work workers. But I also want to know who else is in this category so that we can look at this holistically. That's all I have to say.
Councilmember Shepherd. I'll take the first question you asked is how many employees received hazard pay. So since the inception of fiscal year 20, roughly 6,800 employees received hazard pay at some point or another. And it's from all departments, Watershed, Public Works, Police, Aviation. It runs the gamut. It just was dictated based on their frontline status and being essential workers. It was a designation that was made by each department.
Thank you. All right, I had Mr. Metzkite next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess this would be a question for the CFO and potentially for Jeffrey Norman, the HR person. But I'd ask that when you do go back and look at this, we have done some things for workers. We've given retention bonuses. We've given hiring bonuses. So I'd like to be sure that you take into account some of the things that we have done, and you look holistically at who's gotten things, who hasn't gotten things, where we need to focus our funding, and so just that's my request, that if you could also pull that data into your analysis, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely, Councilmember. We'll put that in consideration.
All right, Mr. Westmoreland.
Yeah, just a brief comment. I think both of my points have been made already. One is a desire to figure out how to do this, and the FEMA reimbursements that are coming at some point between now and the end of the fiscal year might be an option. The reallocation, I don't remember a couple months ago when we allocated the American Rescue Plan funding. I mean, we'd have to have a conversation about changing that before we actually do it. And then it sounds like who exactly we're targeting with this, and I, for one, would be most interested in targeting our literal frontline public works workers. And then secondly, the length of time. So I just want to reiterate a desire to figure out a path forward on this, and perhaps a little more time will help us do that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Westmoreland. And let me go back to our sponsor, Councilmember Overstreet, I think had her hand up as well.
Thank you, Chair I. So to sum up what I hear today is we all can agree that our frontline workers deserve this hazard pay, colleagues. We agree on that. What we don't quite know is the exact funding, even though I truly believe the American Rescue Plan can serve as a funding mechanism for the extension of this hazard pay. And I think that in the next 2 weeks, since Shook has already motion to hold, in the next 2 weeks, that needs to be realized. We need to figure out exactly what our priorities are, how we've prioritized over $190 million or so, and how we can continue to support our frontline workers. I am absolutely open to an amendment that may look like carving out a subset of frontline workers. Who is that? Let's define that. Let's use these 2 weeks to do that as colleagues work together to figure out what actually makes sense. But we don't have a ton of time because, again, they've been working without this pay since July. It's not fair. So I would like for us to really get this paper tight and in order, and certainly show our priorities as a city. We're going to have to do more for our frontline workers. I heard from Councilmember Shepherd. I don't think $15 is enough either. I think that we need to not just extend this hazard pay, but we need to look at other tools as well. So I don't think the other tools should substitute this hazard pay. I think it's a both and because that messaging matters. It absolutely does matter. So they want this hazard pay extended. I want to give it to them, and I think that we all do, actually, from what I hear. So I am open to amendments, and if not for the full year, all the way up to our next budget cycle, when? So let's think about that too. How long can we extend the hazard pay? We should have no excuses in 2 weeks. We should be able to move this paper forward with it looking just the way our priorities are. And that's what I think we should do. So any more comments? Ms. Embray, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we let them vote?
No, Councilwoman Overstreet, thank you for that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah,
Chair.
thank you, Councilmember Overstreet. Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Massacite, did you have your hand up again, or did I just not clear you off the system?
No, thank you.
Okay. And I do believe we've been joined by Councilmember Dickens somewhere in the last 20 or 30 minutes or so, and just didn't acknowledge him, so I'm glad he could be here with us. All right, so there was a motion by Shook to hold, and I don't believe we had a second yet.
Second, Matsukay.
Okay, let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
Dickens is a yay.
All right, and I believe that Councilmember Archibald had to step away for a minute, so I think we can close the vote. That is 6, I believe. I think it's still populating. With Dickens, would that be 6? Yeah. 6 yeses, 0 noes. That item will be held in committee, and hopefully there'll be a lot of work done on it over the next 2 weeks. All right. That was item number 10. Let me see. Item number 11 is 21-0711, an ordinance by Councilmember J.G. Matsukite authorizing a donation amount not to exceed $3,197.49 from the Council District 8 carry forward account to the Atlanta Police Foundation Operation Shield to assist in the improvement of Chastain Park through the purchase of equipment related to the installation of a quad PTZ camera and for other purposes.
Motion to approve, Matsukay.
All right, I'm happy to second that. Let's open the vote.
Vote is open.
and Dickens.
Well, I'll vote yes.
All right. Mr. Dickens?
Yay.
All right. This item is favorable with 6 yeses and 0 noes. Next item is 12-21-0-0712, an ordinance by Councilmember Andre L. Boone authorizing the mayor or designee to enter into Amendment Number 1 to Agreement FC 7623 Public Record Information Services with LexisNexis Risk Solutions FL Inc. on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department to extend the term of the agreement on a month-to-month basis retroactively effective from October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022, and amount not to exceed $106,000. 0 cents in accordance with Section 2-1163, subsection C of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta. Code of Ordinances, all contractor work to be charged to and paid from the fund balance or department organization and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
Dickens?
Yay.
All right. This item is favorable with 6 yeses, 0 noes. I'm going to do 13 and 14 together. 13 is 21-0-0714, an ordinance by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland authorizing a donation amount not to exceed $5,000 from the Post 2 at-large carry forward account to the Kindler Park Conservancy and for other purposes. And on item number 14 is 21-0-0715, an ordinance by Councilmember Andre Dickens authorizing the transfer of $40,000 from the Post 3 at-large carry forward account to the Post 3 at-large distribution account to continue serving the Atlanta community for the public good and for other purposes. And I will make a motion to approve items 13 and 14.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
All right. These two items are both favorable. It's still saying 5, but I believe that should be 6. Ms. Kempton Wright, is it 6?
Yes, Councilmember, it's 6. It's updated now.
Okay, thank you. This brings us to our resolutions. I think we have all right, let's see. Number 15 is 21R3864, a resolution by Councilmember Joyce M. Shepherd authorizing the mayor or designee on behalf of the Department of Finance Office of Enterprise Risk Management to execute Amendment Number 2 of the Cooperative Purchasing Agreement with LYTX, Inc., as designated as CPS 1200361, Driver Risk Management Services pursuant to Section 2-1602, utilizing the Government Services Administration Contract Number GS3535F 0623S to extend the term on a month-to-month basis from October 7, 2021 through June 6, 2022, and to provide additional funding in the amount of $77,529.60 per month for a total not to exceed $620,236.80 in accordance with Section 2-1163, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances. All contractor work shall be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. And Councilmember Shepherd, I have been told that this one should be filed and it's going to be resubmitted as an ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes, okay. That's correct. Yes, motion to file.
All right, I'll second that. Let's open the vote on 15.
Shook eye.
The vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
Westmoreland, yay.
Updating vote.
All right, that's 6 yeses, 0 noes to file. The next item, in my place, is 16, which is 21R3913, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to exercise the first renewal option for FC 9041 B12 Technologies LLC for maintenance and support services for the jail management systems on behalf of the Department of Atlanta Information Management for a renewal term of 1 year effective from December 16, 2021 through December 15, 2022, an amount not to exceed $225,000.00 with all contracted work to be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. No changes to that one. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
Westmoreland, yes.
Dickens, yay.
All right. Items favorable with 6 yeses and 0 noes. Item number 17, we are going to have a substitute. Let me find that real quick. Item number 17 is 21R3914. Just find our substitute caption. One minute. Ms. Kempson, right, does it change the caption, the substitute?
Yes, Madam Chair, it does change. The caption does change. I can read it in if you'd like me to.
If you can read it, I'm digging through my packet and then...
It's okay. It's a substitute resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee on behalf of the Department of Finance to exercise renewal agreement number 1 with Hilltop Securities Incorporated for FC 10659, financial advisor to the City of Atlanta for a term of 1 year effective November 8, 2021 through November 7, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $118,000.00. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from all funding numbers listed herein and for the purposes.
All right, I'll make a motion to bring forward the substitute.
Second.
All right, let's open the vote on the substitute.
The vote is open.
Yay, Dickens.
Westmoreland, yes.
All right, that's 6 yeses, 0 noes. I'll make a motion to adopt on substitute.
Second.
Open the vote.
Westmoreland, yes.
All right. Let's see. Mr. Dickens?
Yay.
All right. This item is favorable on substitute with 6 yeses, 0 noes. So that takes us to item number 18, which is 21R3915, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee to authorize the award of the bid for the purchase of the City of Atlanta's interest in certain property located on 903 Parkstand Drive, Stone Mountain, Georgia, in land lot 90 of the 18th District of DeKalb County, Georgia, pursuant to Ordinance 19-1704 to CNAM LLC to authorize the sale and conveyance of the aforementioned property, to authorize the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed, to authorize the mayor or designee to execute and or deliver all other documents necessary to complete the sale and transfer of the aforementioned property and for other purposes. And will somebody from the admin just tell us why we're doing a real estate transaction in Stone Mountain?
Yes, this is Mike Jurgen, Interim Director of Real Estate for Department of Enterprise Asset Management. This was a residential property that was in a and historically had been used in another program that no longer exists. So there was a vacant residential property left. It was circulated to see if any other uses were needed by the city, and back in January of last year, determined it was not, and it was deemed surplus by passage by council. And now this is the step where we've gone through all the steps to advertise and market it and sell it to an acceptable bidder, which was at the appraised value and approved through the auspices of the procurement office. So at this point, we're asking for approval to close this transaction and sell it to the high bidder.
Sure. All right, sounds good. I will make a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll second, but I have a question.
Sure.
Are there other Stone Mountain properties owned by the city of Atlanta?
I'm not aware of any at this time. This was kind of a one-off piece isolated by itself.
Thank you.
All right, let's open the vote.
Westmoreland, yes.
Dickens, yay.
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you. Next item is 1921R 3916, a resolution of Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor who designee to execute the Third Amendment to Agreement FC 10670, Heating and Air Conditioning Services with ARS Mechanical LLC on behalf of the Department of Enterprise Asset Management to add funding for the Department of Aviation and the Department of Watershed Management for HVAC repairs at various facilities in an amount not to exceed $1,875,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
Vote is open.
Yay, Dickens.
Westmoreland, yes.
Item favorable with 6 yeses and 0 noes. Item number 20 is 21R 3917, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor who designee to execute Amendment Number 1 for FC 10458, Cooperative Agreement for HVAC Services with Johnson Controls, Inc., in order to add the Atlanta Department of Transportation, the Department of Aviation, the Atlanta Police Department, and the Department of Public Works as authorized users, and to exercise the first renewal option of the agreement with a term of 1 year effective November 1st, 2021 through October 31st, 2022, an amount not to exceed $720,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Open the vote.
Vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
Westmoreland, yes.
All right. This item is favorable with 6 yeses and 0 noes. Item number 21 is 21R 3918, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor who designee to enter into Amendment Number 1 for FC 10276, job order contracting consulting services with the Gordian Group, Inc., to add city departments listed herein as authorized users and to exercise the first renewal option of the agreement for a term of 1 year, effective October 7th, 2021 through October 6th, 2022, an amount not to exceed $100,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
Vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
All right.
Westmoreland, yes.
This item's favorable with 6 yeses, 0 noes. Item number 22 is 21R3919, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor who doesn't need to issue task order number FC10641, H43 for contract FC10641, job order contracting services small with Johnson Law Skyline Atlanta JSC Contractors LLC for the MLK Junior Drive Mural Wall project on behalf of the Department of Enterprise Asset Management for the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs in an amount not to exceed $338,214.64. All work to be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
Westmoreland, yes.
All right, this item's favorable with 7 yeses and 0 noes. Item number 22, 21R3919, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor who designee to issue task order number FC10641H. Ms. Kempson, is this right? We're on 22 now? Yeah. All right.
Yes,
Sorry, they start to sound the same sometimes. A resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor who doesn't need to issue task order number FC10641H-43 for contract FC10641H job order contracting services small with Johnson Law Skyline Atlanta JSC Contractors LLC for the MLK Junior Drive Mural Wall project on behalf of the Department of Enterprise Asset Management for the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs in an amount not to exceed $338,214.64. All work to be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
Councilmember, I apologize. I believe you were still reading the wrong caption. It should have been the caption for 39. 3920, number 23.
Okay, I got turned around there. So, yeah, my e-boardroom was telling me the wrong thing. So we are down on 21R3920 for item number 23.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I thought that one sounded familiar. A resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor who designee to exercise the first renewal option for FC10221 on-call painting services with A&D Painting, Inc. on behalf of the Department of Enterprise Asset Management for a term of 1 year effective from October 30th, 2021 to October 31st, 2022, an amount not to exceed $20,000.00. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account numbers of security and for other purposes. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second this one, too.
All right, let's open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
Westmoreland, yay.
All right, that item is favorable with 7 yeses, 0 noes. In my defense, we often have the small job paper and the large job paper back to back, but they do sound the same. But I thought I was reading the same one twice. All right, item number 24 is 21R3921, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to exercise the first renewal option for FC10398 citywide electrical repair and maintenance services with Capital City Electrical Services LLC on behalf of the Department of Enterprise Asset Management, the Atlanta Police Department, the Department of Corrections, the Department of Parks and Recreation, the Department of Public Works, and the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 1 year effective December 11th, 2021 through December 10th, 2022, an amount not to exceed $705,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. I will make a motion to approve. Second by Shook. Let's open the vote.
Madam Chair, we do have an amendment for this particular item.
Let me go back to that. Yep, so the amendment that we need to vote on first reduces the amount of the contract from $705,000 to $655,000. So I'll make a motion to amend first to change the amount.
Second.
All right, let's open the vote on the amendment.
The vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
Let's see, but Westmoreland?
I'll be a yes.
All right. All right, the motion to amend is favorable with 7 yeses and 0 no's. All right, I'll make a motion to adopt as amended now with the 655 amount. All right, let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
Westmoreland, yes.
All right, this item is favorable with 7 yeses, 0 no's. Item number 25 is 21R3922, a resolution of Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor who designee to execute special procurement agreement SCF 1210310 automated fingerprint identification system upgrade with NEC Corporation of America pursuant to Section 2-1191.1 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department for a term of 6 years and amount not to exceed $2,478,000.00. All costs shall be charged to and paid from the funding members of Securian and for other purposes. Take a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
Dickens and Westmoreland?
Yes.
Dickens, yay.
All right, this item is favorable. 7 yeses and 0 no's. Takes us to the next section of our agenda for our dual referred items. Section L, and our first item is 26. It's going to have an amendment, but let me read the title in 21-0698, an ordinance by Councilmember Andre L. Boone authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2022 CARES Act fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in the amount of $12,070,911.50 awarded to the city pursuant to the Emergency Rental Assistance Program 2 from the U.S. Treasury, the total of which shall be utilized to respond to the public health emergency with respect to COVID-19 by providing emergency rental assistance to residents of the city of Atlanta and for other purposes. And this was dual referred to CDHS and has now come from CD to us. But I've been told we need to make an amendment throughout the body of the paper to change where it says 50 cents to 90 cents throughout. Can somebody, I don't know if Mr. Westmoreland, you know about this, or somebody from the administration or the finance, just tell us a little bit about this and what that amendment is doing?
I will defer to the administration.
Okay. Mr. Keene or finance or
I think this is CFO Barlow. I think Jerry Deloach is on the line and can speak to this.
Okay.
Good afternoon. This is Jerry Deloach. This is just a piece of legislation that is authorizing the city to accept the second round of funding for the emergency rental assistance. We earlier in January received $15 million approximately, and this is the second round for an additional $12 million.
And what is this amendment doing that's changing this 50 cents to 90 cents throughout?
We were off by cents. We had 50 cents and it should have been 90 cents. And it's pretty much just to clear up to make sure that we get the exact amount.
Oh, just in that total. Okay, just in that total amount number is where it's making the changes. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I'll make a motion to amend to do that little correction first.
Second.
All right, let's open the vote on the amendment.
The vote is open.
Westmoreland, yes.
Dickens, yes.
All right. The amendment was 7 yeses, 0 no's. I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
Vote open.
Mr. Dickens and Mr. Westmoreland?
I'm sorry. I thought I said aye. Aye.
Me too. Dickens, yes.
The e-boardroom didn't hear you. All right. Item's favorable with 7 yeses, 0 no's. Item number 27 is 21-0700, an ordinance by Councilor Andrea L. Boone as amended by Community Development and Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor who designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into amendment number 2 of Agreement EAS 1200569 COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Let's make sure I'm not doing the same thing again. Rental Program Administration Services Agreement with United Way of Greater Atlanta, Inc. on behalf of the executive offices to extend the term through January 31st, 2022, and to add funding for continued emergency rental assistance to residents of the City of Atlanta to be funded by the U.S. Department of Treasury Emergency Rental Assistance, ERA, funds in amount not to exceed $12,030,172.67 and for other purposes. And this came out of CD with a positive recommendation yesterday. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Madam Chair, we have
okay. Yep. And who can tell us what the changes are in the substitute?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The changes are to add the ordinance number that we just finished talking about, 0698, which is the source of the funding, and we're also adding the accounting stream that will pay for the rental assistance, and we've added that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? And I will make a motion to bring forward the substitute.
Second.
The vote is open.
Dickens, Jay.
All right. And Westmoreland?
In favor.
All right. And that the substitute is before us with 7 yeses, 0 no's. I'm making a motion to adopt on substitute.
Second.
Vote is open.
Dickens, Jay.
Westmoreland, yes.
All right, the side is favorable on substitute. 7 yeses, 0 no's. All right. This now takes us to item number 28. that one's in committee. Let me see what came out of committee. Right, is that it? We're not quite there, Howard. Almost. Madam, to that section, right? We're down in the, are we down?
Held item.
Held? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, in our held, let's go to item number 44 first, which is 21000478. And we're going to have a substitute on that. Let me hold on 1 second. Read this caption, and then we'll bring forward the substitute. It is an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year water and wastewater 2022 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations an amount not to exceed $125 million and 0 cents for the authorization of the City Series 2021 commercial paper program with respect to the issuance of its water and wastewater revenue commercial paper notes Series 2021 and for other purposes. So I will make a motion to bring forward the substitute, which adds accounts in section 1 and some content in the last 2 whereas clauses.
Second.
The vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
Westmoreland, yes.
All right. Substitute is before us with 7 yeses and 0 noes. Make a motion to approve on substitute.
Second.
Dickens and Westmoreland?
Yes.
Dickens, yay. Sorry, guys.
All right. That is, we're getting a little feedback from somebody. That was 7 yeses, 0 noes, favorable on substitute. The next item is 21000628, an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor who designee to enter into agreement RFPS 1200171 citywide digital kiosk solution with Ike Smart City LLC for the design, fabrication, installation, operation, and maintenance of interactive digital kiosks on behalf of the Department of Atlanta Information Management for a term of 8 years with 2 6-year renewal term options in accordance with Section 2-1163, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta, Code of Ordinances, the revenue-generating contract to remit 50% of the net revenue, all funds to be deposited in the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein, and for other purposes. This one we held 2 weeks ago. I think on my motion, I'm not going to bring a motion to approve it because I still feel like this is too big of a change and it should go back to procurement for contracting again. But somebody else is welcome to make a motion if you would like to bring it off of held.
Well, yeah, sure. I'll approve it. I had the opportunity to kind of catch up and get some information that was not available originally. The MAG is helpful to me. The information about the citywide distribution is helpful. So I'm comfortable, and for discussion purposes, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, Dickens.
All right. I'm going to vote no on this. I understand why this could be a good contract for the city. To me, going from a 3-year with 2 1-year renewals to a 8-year with 2 6-year renewals is just a whole different story, and I don't think it's fair to other people that may have been willing to bid on it under those terms. So I am a no, but we can open the vote.
Councilmember,
we're on 45, Ms. Kempson, right? With what? And now it looks like Ms. Archibong had her hand up.
Yeah, I had similar concerns about this paper, but I had an opportunity to speak with representatives from the company, and I understood that everyone on the committee had a similar opportunity. And I think for the public, it would be helpful to hear from procurement and or law on to respond exactly to the point that you were raising. I don't want that left hanging. I'd like to have information from procurement and law on that.
Yeah, I'll call on the law department first. And it's just my opinion. We all have our comfort zone on things, and I'm not saying we would lose a bid protest on this. I'm just saying I'm not comfortable with it. But law department, do you want to speak to this? Hello? Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Hi, Amber A. Robinson, City of Atlanta Department of Law. Though I cannot say that I was personally involved in the review of this particular matter, I do believe that whether or not this is permissible in the manner it's presented to the council is something to which it would be appropriate to defer to the Chief Procurement Officer regarding this. However, I do believe that our Deputy City Attorney, who is charged with heading our procurement team, is available to speak further in regards to this. And that is Ms. Chandra Houston, I believe, is on the line.
Sure, Ms. Houston.
Yes, good afternoon, council members. Thank you very much, Amber. We did have some opportunity to discuss this matter with the Chief Procurement Officer and the former interim CIO, Ms. Ty Hayes. We had, quite frankly, the same reaction to the shift in the term as council member I did, and we did recommend resolicitation would be the best course for the reasons that the business has presented to, I believe, all of the council persons. They are compelled to move forward. And from a code perspective, we do believe that it is allowable for them to move forward. The specific code section 21189, which controls here, does allow the using agency to put emphasis on the particular aspects of the RFP that are most important from an evaluation standpoint. It's our understanding that the term was not one of those items. And while this is a big shift, because they did not emphasize the term, in fact, they said it was anticipated to be 3 years with the 2 one-year option renewals in the solicitation process. We believe that the code can support moving forward if the committee is comfortable in doing so.
Thank you for that. This is Archibong. Did anyone hear from procurement? Anyone? Wow.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? This is CPO Martin Clark. Can you all hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Greetings. There you go. Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak to this paper. Yes, this was actually the third time that the city actually went out to try to procure this service for our constituents. It's an absolute favorable set of terms. 25% of the kiosks are being built in underserved areas, 50% profit share, with a payment that'll be immediate. And, of course, they are going to be responsible for the expense of the build-out and removing, I believe, the old kiosks. As a result of the fact that we've gone out several times, as the result of we only had, I think, after this last one responsive bidder, it was absolutely we believe in the interest of the city that we proceed forward with this proponent. So we did so.
I just have a question on where do you draw the line? I mean, this has gone from 5 years to 20 years. What if they ask for 30 or 40 or 50? I mean, sure. So there has to be some point in time that we say that's not fair to other people that could have recovered their investment if the original proposal had been for a longer period of time to allow for the recoup of capital investment.
The original, I guess it was a 3 plus 2, which was 5. This is looking at an initial amount of 8 with, so 5 to 8 with 2 potential renewals, which is
three. Let me stop even from people supporting this. It's not a 5 to 8, but 3 to 8. You have to do apples and apples. It's 3 original with 2 one-year terms, makes 5 total. So you can do 5 to 20 or 3 to 8.
Which I believe I just stated. It's 3 plus 2 on the original, which amounts to 5, plus and starting of 8 with 2 6 renewals, which totals 10. So as a delta, Councilwoman Audit, I believe it's at the most in the beginning of compared to the original term, 5, with the potential of 8 to 20.
Okay. Yes, the most it could have been with the original was 5, and the most it could be on this is 20. So a 15-year delta. So at what point does that become something that needs to be sent back out? 15 years is okay, but would 20 years be? Would 30 years be?
Well, I think it's important to make a distinction here in that the city has attempted 3 times to procure the service. When you also add in the very, very favorable terms of the contract and the fact that we ended up with one proponent and it's taken 4 years to procure this service, we do not believe it's in the interest to further prolong this process, especially when we have a very favorable term and a favorable proponent that stands before you. So I do understand and I do hear the concern of the issue on the term. We believe that it is a defensible action to proceed with the new term, especially in light of the number of kiosks, the build-out costs that are going to be borne by the proponent, and the services that are going to be rendered on behalf of the city. So, again, we believe this is a solicitation that the committee should move forward.
This is Natalie. I don't think. Can I just say? I don't think you answered my question of where the cutoff is on changing the terms after the fact, particularly in a contract where there is a capital investment that would be forefront in bidders' minds of the length of time it will take them to recoup it. So, at what point does this become a, changing the terms of what was put out there that you would no longer feel comfortable in saying, we didn't get any bidders. Well, I would say if it were out there as potential of, if it was 8 versus 3, I'm not making that assumption that nobody else would have bid on it, particularly when it was a potential of 20 versus 5. But it's somewhere, would you say that, we would send it back out to bid, that it no longer would be appropriate to make the changes in term that allow for this to become a profitable contract?
Yes, I believe I answered it when I responded with the number or the lack thereof of respondents to draw a very clear line of 1, 2, 17, or 22. I think it would be impossible to make, Councilwoman Odd. I think we take
That is a circular response to say nobody else responded when we're changing the terms after the fact. So at some point,
if you would allow me to respond to your question and finish my response, ma'am.
I would like an answer of how many years becomes too long. And what multiple of the length of the term becomes too long. It's a number I'm looking for.
And that number will be based upon each and individual solicitation that comes and the responses that come from those solicitations, Councilwoman.
Okay, so for this one in particular.
And in this particular
one, what would have been too much to ask for? Yep.
I won't respond with what would have been too much, but rather what was reasonable in the eyes of the Department of Procurement was a term that went from 3 plus 2, which was a maximum of 5, to a term of 8 years with a maximum of 20. That was what was reasonable within the
But I would say that I understand this. So that I understand this going forward, because this is just a change in the rules to me. I want to understand, so I have a reference point for this contract. What increase would have been too much? I get it that you're saying this is not too much, but I want to know what would have been too much.
That I cannot answer.
In your professional judgment and working in procurement, you can't answer that.
I cannot answer because the terms that have been presented by this proponent that have been reviewed and negotiated by parties, including the law department and the user agency, was 8 years plus 2 renewals. And that offer was deemed reasonable and acceptable, especially in light of the services and the 50% profit share and the other terms that have been presented to the city of Atlanta.
That's incredibly disappointing to me that you can't give us more guidance on, in all of your years of procurement, of at what point it becomes a change of terms. Are you just saying there are no guidelines on that? It's just going to be a case by case on what your judgment is? Everyone that comes along and, 2 times might be okay in some cases and 5 times might be okay in other cases?
But it also will entail a consideration of the capital recoupment expectation and realization on behalf of the proponent. The proponent, if we were to hold their feet to the fire to a 3 plus 2, then it's very likely that the service and the equipment and the resultant deal that we would get would not look as favorable as what we are potentially going to be receiving that. So
I totally understand that. And the question is, are there other vendors out there that if it had been 8 plus 6 plus 6 would have been able to offer the same or a better deal? And that's what I don't know the answer to. And it seems like it's too big of a change of terms to me. I understand the city thinks this is a fantastic deal. There could have been a more fantastic deal out there, and we don't know that because we didn't give other people the opportunity to bid under these same terms. We may just have to agree to disagree on this one. Councilmember Archibald?
Would it be, and thank you very much for that exchange, just wondering, in the abundance of caution and in the spirit of fairness, would it make any sense, I don't know if this is law or procurement, for the terms to go back to the original as was
offer to the public. And then if it's such a great deal, obviously we'll be able to continue it because the opportunity to rebid or to continue with a program that's working well can be worked out. I'm just wondering if it would make any sense to reduce the terms at this point.
I'm going to defer to the law department and the attorney that negotiated those terms, but it is my understanding that that the proponent is not going to accept the original term.
It'd be interesting to hear from the law department.
Yes, ma'am. This is Chandra Houston again, Deputy City Attorney. Yes, during the negotiation process, Ike Smart Kiosk was very, very firm on the need for a 20-year term in order to be able to recoup some of the outlay of cash that they're putting forward initially. We tried to stick with the 3-year to 1-year renewal terms and absolutely got nowhere. And they were very, very insistent on that.
All right. Thank you. Were they able to demonstrate the financial burden through documentation?
I believe that they had several conversations with the then interim CIO and, brought her to a realization that, to agree with them in any regard. And that's really, how we got here at this point. I will say that what we did, because, again, the law department was not wholly comfortable with the large shift, but we did retain our right to terminate for convenience in the document. And so the city, will certainly have to return any unused funds and pay for any kiosks that were, already on the street and put up and installed. At the time that we exercise, if we choose to exercise the termination for convenience. But we were very firm to keep that right in the contract, if that's helpful at all to your analysis.
Yeah, that was going to be a question about that. I make sure that termination clause is included. I understand it's standard in our contracts. So is that standard to have the termination provision be layered with this requirement to reimburse the company for all the things that you listed?
Yes, ma'am. It is typically, certainly we're not talking about dollars to this magnitude in most contracts, but there is in our standard provision language allowing for, the return of, excess money, reimbursement for any, cost outlay that the vendor bore that may not be, utilized at the time that we exercise. So that is a standard process, and we were very adamant about keeping that standard process intact in this contract.
But it sounds like you're saying that having that protection in place may cause us we may be in a financially burdened posture in exercising that. Is that what I just heard you say?
We certainly could be, depending certainly on the timing. Let's just say you terminate, 6 months after, the contract has begun, and I believe the vendor's cash outlay is immediate, then yes, we will have to return all of that money. And if any kiosks were installed at that time, we'd have to pay for those.
Do we know what the cost is per kiosk?
I do not have that breakdown, no.
Mr. Clark?
I'll have to defer to AIM on the specific cost per, but I concur with the law department that under the termination convenience we would have to turn.
This is Jason Sankey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It is $110,000 per kiosk. And one thing just to add, we didn't have a comprehensive understanding of the infrastructure and the work needed to fully support this type of technology. By that, I mean the first 36 or the first 50 kiosks will be installed within the first 36 months. So that's at that 3-year mark right there. With that, I just think when the original RFP went out, we did not have the comprehensive understanding of the infrastructure, as I mentioned. And I think in the question and answer part of the proposal, that's why we went with the anticipated as opposed to more definitively stating it will be for that 5-year period, or the 3 plus the 1 plus 1.
So how many are going to be installed initially, you said?
There will be 50 initially, and that's within the first 36 months, up to 120 total.
And did you say you don't know the actual cost per kiosk, or did you say?
110,000. It's really a range between 110 versus 130,000, depending on location to power source.
Okay, I thought that's what you said, but I was kind of looking at some notes here. Okay, so if we exercise our termination clause, then we would have to make them whole for that outlay of investment per kiosk. I don't know if that's a law department question or who.
Yes, ma'am, we would.
Okay, that's a lot to take in. Thank you very much.
I was going to say, one last thing is listening to that discussion of, the negotiations and the vendor, Ike, who wins this, who then says, I can't possibly do it under those terms. I don't know why they get the benefit of having bid on it and get new terms versus the people that looked at the RFP and said, I can't possibly do it under those terms. But the vote, let's open the vote and let's see, how people feel about it. I'm a no. I don't think we should do business.
The vote is open.
Shepherd, yes.
Westmoreland, yes. Matsakite, yes.
All right, this item is favorable with 5 yeses, 1 no, which is myself, and 1 abstention from Councilmember Archibald. All right, that was item 45. Let me see what we have up next. Our next item is 46, which is 21R 3815. There is a substitute for this paper. We'll get to the caption. Almost there. All right. A resolution by Councilmembers Matt Westmoreland and Jennifer and I, to substitute by Finance Executive Committee, a resolution authorizing the CFO to refund customers for overpayments to water and sewer accounts in an amount of $96,060.09, all funds to be charged to and paid from fund department organizations and account number 5051 Water and Wastewater Revenue Fund 00001, balance sheet default 1226009, refund payable and for other purposes, and the substitute added in the dollar amount. So I'll make a motion to bring forward the substitute. Second.
vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
Shepherd, yes.
Westmoreland, yes. Matscott, yes.
The substitute is before us with 7 yeses and 0 noes. I'll make a motion to approve on substitute.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
Shepherd, yes.
Yes. Matscott, yes.
Dickens, yes.
Vote is open.
This item is favorable on substitute with 7 yeses and 0 noes. All right, that was 46. Number 47 is coming out of utility. No, coming out of CD. Number 47 is 21-0675, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute all appropriate documents granting a utility easement of 875 square feet across the real property known as Zero Bankhead Highway, Atlanta, landlots 261 and 267 of District 17 of Fulton County, Georgia, also known as English Park, to Georgia Power Company for the purpose of installing underground power distribution facilities upon payment of $26,500.00, waiving Real Estate and Procurement Code Article 10, Subdivision 3, Subsection 2-1571 and 2-1572 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes. And you all sent this over from Community Development, Mr. Westmoreland? Favorable, I suppose? Okay. Anything of interest about it? Looks pretty straightforward.
Second.
All right, make that a motion by Ide, a second by Shook. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
Dickens, yay.
Shepherd, yes.
Matscott, yes.
I think we heard from everybody. The system doesn't seem to be up to date.
It's slowly updating. We apologize.
Okay. All right. This item is favorable. 7 yeses, 0 noes. And that concludes our legislative agenda. And if there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. See y'all next time.